Money. Welcome to the project. If it's TDP, you can bet it's must-see TV. Real talk, having real talks with the TBE. The best ever, letting me be me. We be always busy and they hate that. They gotta see Miggy in his Maybach. Hater couldn't hit me till they listen to a playback. What I owe you, cause like really this the payback. No Diddy, take that. See in profit, we could pop it till it's over. See the vision can't be cropped unless I'm chopping it through Nova. Kato jumping in and out of pocket like a soldier. Cause like really to touch every single topic is a project. Let me show you. Up to something like my hand on a cannon. Push a button like I'm Lando or Landon. Climbing up the charts, how you smart but you can't understand it. You will never see us famished, so vanish, for real. Welcome to the project.
Ladies and gentlemen, all right, so this is an episode that I've been super excited to get going for quite some time. Originally, this all started over the famous, as we all know, Trump campaign, the Trump race.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have Trump up on the platform. And shout out to my guy, Frat Money. He said, this is the guy you got to get in contact, Mr. Alex Bruesewitz. Did I say it right?
That was good, man.
There you go. You see that? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. It's great to be here with you guys. And, I was trying to make that podcast work. With the presidential campaign, though, we only have so many days, but that would have been fun. And maybe we can still get that done sometime in the future.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Kato, how you feeling today, my brother?
Feeling good, man. I'm feeling very good. Very excited to have this type of conversation. This is a different type of guest than we typically would have. So,
I have a rap background as well.
I didn't know. You gotta cue me in.
Oh, I'm gonna cue you in. There's so many. There's so much things that have transpired. But for the people that don't know who you are, who is Alex, and what are you about?
Well, I'm a 28-year-old political consultant. I work with the president and work with Republican candidates all over the country. I give speeches all over the world promoting a patriotic America First message. And it's been a really fun ride. I grew up in a small town, Wisconsin. 10 years ago, I was sitting in study hall with no idea what the hell I wanted to do in my life. 10 years later, I'm flying on Air Force One. It's been an incredible ride. I got, lucky. I met a lot of great people who wanted to help me along the way. And I was pretty good at talking crap on Twitter, which ultimately got the attention of some important people, including the President of the United States. And so that's what I'm about. I also like to have fun. I travel the world. I have a great time. I have a beautiful fiance. I have great friends. And, I'm not just a Twitter personality. Yeah. And so, it's fun to be here with you guys.
I appreciate that. Twitter personalities, or X as they call it nowadays, which I hate saying, can argue with the best of them.
Yes.
Because it's just like comeback after comeback after comeback, and the thread has 2,000 messages in it.
It's fun.
How did you start getting into politics?
Well, I got into X and Twitter. I'm actually with my friend Evan here. He's been one of my closest friends since I was 4 years old. We met in kindergarten, and we grew up together in a very small town. And we started off on Twitter around the same age, probably 13, 14 years old. And when you're 13 and 14 years old on Twitter, all you think about is like your 200 followers or like your world on there, right? And then your closest friends. So whatever the heck you say on there, you think only they're going to see it. And then years later, I have to run and delete a tweet because they're like, Alex, why'd you call this guy a gosh? I was 14 when I tweeted that. I'm sorry, but I got into Twitter when I was young, when I was in high school, and then I grew up in Wisconsin. And when I was growing up, we had a governor, Scott Walker, at the time, who decided to pick a fight with the teachers union in the state of Wisconsin. And I didn't know much about politics. I followed politics as much as any teenager possibly could. My mom was pretty involved, and I found out that my teachers didn't like this guy, Scott Walker, and I didn't like my teachers. And so by default, online, I became a big Scott Walker supporter. And then my teachers would get pissed when I would talk about Scott Walker, and I was like, that's kind of fun. And I started building a conservative following when I was 16, 17 years old. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I just kept going with it, learning more about it, and would just tweet about conservative politics as a 16, 17-year-old. And ultimately built a few thousand followers. And then when I was just turned 18, I was sitting in study hall one day with Evan, and I tweeted a picture of the sign on Trump Chicago, and I said the sign on Trump Chicago would look just as good on the White House. And this is April of 2015.
Wow.
By the time the study hall ended, Donald Trump retweeted my post.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like jacked up. I'm like, Trump retweeted me. This is sick. Like, this is awesome. Nobody really cared at the time. I cared, but nobody else did. And a month later, I graduated high school. And then a month after that, Trump announces he's running for president of the United States.
Oh, that's sick.
And so I'm like, this is awesome. And so I just doubled down, became a online supporter of the president. I was very vocal early on when a lot of people in the Republican Party were writing him off. They said he had no chance. He was polling at like 1% at the time. And he started going up. And as he was going higher, so were my followers. And after he won, I started a consulting business called X Strategies, which is funny. It was a Twitter consulting business that I started in 2016, 17 called X Strategies. And then, yeah, so it's been all I've known in my entire adult life has been doing this.
And X Strategies is not just some small company. This is a badass company.
We've done well. It's a couple $1 million a year in revenue company. We're very selective about the clients that we do take on. We have to be 100% values aligned, believers in what you do and what you stand for. There's a lot of companies in Washington and in politics that just take whatever contract comes their way, but we don't operate that way. I'd rather sacrifice a few bucks and maintain my values and my principles. But we've done very well. We've been blessed. God's been great to us. And it's been really fun because it has taken me all over the world, put me in incredible rooms I never thought that I would possibly be in. And but we've done well. We've done well as a company.
Now, X Strategies, this is a company that pretty much you're finding out all the data. You're finding out all the things you need to know to help your candidate pretty much secure their win, right? Their victory. But yep. you also do the opposition's research to make sure, like, you're talking about the signs, the logos, it's everything.
Yeah, we do a lot of mainly digital, all things social media. Okay. So, if our opponent tweeted something bad in the past, our team will find it before anybody else, right? But we primarily manage and grow people's social media followings. There's a lot of Congress members today that we started working with that had 0 followers, and then fast forward to today, they have millions and millions of followers because of the work that we did. And we really started growing as a company after Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came onto the scene in 2018. Republicans were a little behind the ball on the social media era. Even President Trump was the social media president. He brought dialogue online, and because of his effective use of social media, the Democrats recognized that, and we need to go find our solutions to that. And their solutions were Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who came onto the scene. She was super hot. She gained millions of followers. Ilhan Omar, similar situation. And so that 2018 cycle was a tough year for Republicans because the Democrats came in with this whole roster of online personalities, and the Republicans were still kind of boring online besides the president. And so a lot of Republican campaigns and consultants were like, we got to counter this. And so my company was like the only company positioned to help amplify conservative voices in a way that like the Democrats were doing with AOC. And so that cycle, we had people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who came into the scene. And, Marjorie was this, total flamethrower from Northwest Georgia, totally misunderstood person. She's actually a really cool person to get to know. And I don't agree with her on everything. We have some disagreements, but she's actually a really good person, cool person. But and she could talk crap online. Yeah. And because she could talk crap online, she rocketed. And so we came in with a good cycle that year. We had Marjorie, we had Byron Donalds, who I think is going to be the next governor of Florida here, who's a great guy. And you guys should look at having him on the podcast. He's a cool dude. We had people like Lauren Boebert. So really social media centric Republicans came in that election cycle, and we played a good role in that. And then right after that, obviously, there was a questionable election. Some people think it was fair. Some people don't. I'm in the latter category. But, we had that election, and then I kind of went from a behind-the-scenes operative to being a little bit more forward-facing because I started speaking out a little bit more publicly.
And What would you say, because doing all this, right, like getting into that space is something that was new. It's still fairly new because it's young in politics, right? We're talking about 10 years that we're into the game of using social media as the platform. And I know you've been very instrumental at helping Trump with that as well, right? But what would you say would be the wildest thing that you ever found in like opposition research?
Man, there's always crazy stuff out there. I can't take credit for this one, but a friend of mine, his name's Alex Pfeiffer, a really smart guy. He found the clip of the 2024 election just by going through YouTube videos and going through online, content. And there's a clip of Kamala Harris this last election cycle talking about how she wanted to pay for gender transition surgeries for illegal aliens who are in prison in our country. And I'm like, dude, there's no way she actually said that. There's no way. And he's like, dude, it's right here. Here's the clip. And sure enough, word for word, she's like, yeah, I would do that. I would pay for gender transition surgeries for illegal aliens who are in prison. We're like, okay. Pfeiffer got that out there. Our team was incredibly talented, a really incredible team that I got to work with on the Trump campaign this last election cycle. But we made that the closing message of the campaign. We had a beautiful ad. Kamala Harris is for they, them. Trump is for you. It was a great message.
Absolutely.
We got a lot of hate from the media and from certain communities, but it was a great, powerful message that resonated with people who, even if they're not political, we just literally played the clip word for word of Kamala saying that, and we closed it with Kamala's for they, them, Trump is for you. That's it. We were running that during Sunday Night Football. We're running that during college football. So normal Americans are seeing that clip like, this chick's kind of crazy.
I'm out.
and so that was just something that a friend of mine found. We amplified it like crazy, and it was seen billions of times by the time the election rolled around.
It's wild. What you say on the internet can and will be used against you at some point, especially if you're running for politics.
Yes, especially if you're running for politics. And that's why something that I think a lot of politicians in this era are doing wrong is they have an opinion on everything, because social media kind of makes it that way. You want to react to the trending topics. And so even people who aren't experts on certain topics, they have an opinion on it. And a lot of times those opinions are wrong. And they come back to bite you 5 or 6 years later when you're running for something else. And so you don't have to have a conversation. You don't have to have a thought on everything. Especially if you're like just a congressman, just go and vote, bro. Like, that's your job.
Yeah.
But they want to mix it up. They want to get famous online. And then they kind of pigeonhole themselves. And they box themselves into a corner because they had a thought once that was a stupid thought, but they publicize it to the world. And then you open up a lane for an attack, and you get guys like me out there who are ready to pounce.
Don't open up the door for Alex. Now, what would you recommend? Somebody's thinking about getting into politics, and they have social medias. Would you recommend that they get rid of them?
No, I mean, if you're good at it, if you're like, you guys are good at it, right? Like, but most of the guys that are getting into politics now, unfortunately, I'm both sides, all right? I'm not this guy who thinks that everybody on our side's a beautiful, wonderful person, all right? I'm a realistic guy. But like, there's a lot of these people, mainly older people, who are really never cool in their life, are finally feeling a little bit cool because they have people, working for them or voting for them. And so they get a little bit of swagger, but they really have no swagger. The word of the year is aura, right? These guys have no aura. And last year, the word of the year was Riz. And so it was really great for us because the governor of the state, Ron DeSantis, was running against Trump, right? And as a Republican, and Ron has negative Riz. And so, but he's got great policies, right? Everybody said, Ron has great policies. He's Trump without the baggage. And I never agree with that. He was never Trump. He's nothing like Trump. But something that Trump has so much better than him is charisma, Riz. And so all we had to do every day on that campaign was we'd point out Ron DeSantis's lack of Riz. And it actually reminded me of something I was very proud of that I found online was Ron DeSantis wearing high heels. So
these guys don't scrub the internet.
No, I mean they do, but they didn't protect Ron's feet in the pictures that they were taking. And Ron's on our team now, so we have to be nice to Ron. But you asked me like what was one thing I was proud of online. I just found this picture of Ron, and he was wearing these heeled boots. And I zoomed in on the picture, and I just tweeted the picture, Governor, if I may, what are those? And his entire team just started like attacking me on social media, which took this like as a innocent question that I'm a nice guy who mostly minds his own business asked. And it turned into 1 million views on this one tweet. And then people started asking Ron about his boots because of how viral this thing went. And next thing I know, it's on all the late night shows. It's like going viral on TikTok, and it was fun highlighting his boots. But back to your question about like what should they do? You have to be authentic online with everything you do. Like, you know, you see these influencers, they pop up, and you can tell when they start getting, you know, for the paid campaigns and when they start losing their natural voice. You know, the Hawk Tuah girl, that's a great example, right? Yeah. You know, she comes in the scene, organic, popular, fun. And then when she got her fame, she tried too hard. She lost her authenticity. It just became too forced, and her fame fizzled out. And you see that a lot with people in politics. They go viral for one thing because maybe they had a good bill or they had a good moment on the floor because they, you know, had a good 2-minute speech or something. But then they try too hard to replicate that momentum, and then you just make themselves look like fools. And then another thing is, like, if you're not a good-looking person, which most of the politicians aren't, you shouldn't be doing these close-up selfie videos where you can see what's in your teeth, what's in your nose. Like, these people, like, really don't know how to take selfie videos. And so I try to gently point it out. Like, there's a senator, Mark Warner from Virginia. He's a Democrat. The president would call him a radical leftist. But, you know, he's not a handsome guy. He's like 77 years old, and he does these selfie videos in the back of his car on his way to work. And he's talking about Trump is this, Trump is that. And you're seeing literally what he had for breakfast. And I say, Mark, please, who's advising you to take selfie videos like this? Just back up from the camera a little bit, get a selfie stick. It'll be better content. They don't listen to my advice, and they keep doing the close-up selfie videos.
I love the subtlety. It's like, I'm not being, I'm not being crazy or rude or anything like that. I'm not crossing any crazy lines, but get the guy too big.
Yeah, I'm trying to help him, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you understand it that way, which is a problem that most people have. Just understanding what they look like to their supporters. You know, we see this all the time with, you know, what we do in podcasting and all the news that come out with everyone, all the rumors and everything. And these people go online and it's like they have no idea what they look like out there. Not just the way that other people view them, the words that they're speaking, the way that they look, the stances that they're taking, and they just go too far with it, and they really have no idea, and they get killed that way. Now, going into that with politics, how instrumental were you in this last campaign with Trump at handling things of this nature?
Well, I don't like to take credit for for a lot of things or really anything. I mean, I really had a unique role to play. It was a team effort through and through. From top down, you know, Susie Wiles, the president's chief of staff, now the first female to ever be chief of staff of the White House. Incredible. She was awesome. She gave me some fun responsibilities, and one of the responsibilities that I was given was to handle the president's podcast circuit that he did. And Dana White, the founder of UFC, he was very instrumental in kind of kicking that off. What he did is he sent us a list of contact numbers to call to get the president on the podcast, or at least explore it. And so Susie sent me this email and said, Alex, go chase these people down. One of the first people that were on the list was Theo Von. And so I call Theo Von, and I'm like, ring 2. I'm like, hey, this is Alex with President Trump's campaign. He's like, what? Wait. And I was like, got your number from Dana? He's like, Dana's the man. And I'm like, would you be interested in having the president on your podcast? He's like, dude, yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. And he's like, I really just want to talk to him. The one thing I really just want to talk to him about is what he's going to do to combat addiction. And Theo's obviously somebody who's struggled with addiction, and he's been very open with his struggle, and he's helped a lot of people with how open he is. I think Theo's a really great person, and I think that's underrated. That's an underrated characteristic about him. Everybody thinks about him as being this really funny person, but I think he's a really good person, and he cares about people, and he wants to help people. And so, but he was very energetic to have the president on. But having to convince the president to go on Theo Von's podcast, that was the next hurdle, because I asked Theo if he would have the president on before I asked the president. And once I got Theo's thumbs up, I went into my office and I was sitting with my friend Danielle Alvarez, a great Cuban girl who worked on the campaign. She's a Miami local too, and I was like, Theo's in, and now he's got to call the president. So I picked up my phone, I called the president. He's like, hey, Alex, how we doing? And this was just a couple of days after we did the Adin Ross podcast, or the stream with Adin. I know you guys like Adin, right? You guys go to his fights and stuff. And we crushed it with Adin. And so he was already vibing. And Barron Trump actually set up that Adin one. Adin and Barron got connected at a rally.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did Trump know who Adin was before the connection?
Yeah, because Barron, did a good job explaining it to him, and Barron set that up, and he's like, Adin is a big deal, and he is a big deal. He's got he's got massive reach.
Absolutely.
And he's also a very impressive young guy. He's 24 years old. He's got the biggest house in all of South Florida, I feel like. Yeah. And he's a good dude. But so I go into the office, I call the president. He's on the golf course. He's like, Alex, the Adin Ross numbers were monster. They were huge. And
it's a big deal.
It was. I mean,
huge.
He's like, we had 110 million views, because what I do after all the interviews, I calculate all of the clips, not just from like the stream, but all the clips that go viral. And the media had no idea how to count clips or what the hell. But we were reaching hundreds of millions of people every time we did one of these. And so I packaged it up, like with the Adin Ross one, for example. We had one clip where Trump was like, we got to treat Young Thug fairly. We got to treat him fairly. That one clip alone,
he's got it.
That one clip alone, it did 50 million views, TikTok, X, Instagram, and he crushed it. And so he was really pumped up about that. And I was like, well, sir, I got another one for you. This one also came in through Dana, and it's a comedian named Theo Von. He's really hot right now, really popular. And
what Theo Von video do you show Trump to say this is the guy I want you to go sit down with?
I didn't show him any clips. I didn't show him any clips. And he's like, he's good. You like him, Alex? And I said, he's very popular. He's very popular right now. 10 million followers plus. He's got a big reach. And again, this is a recommendation of Dana White. He's like, Dana's good. He's good.
His imitations are A1.
Give Barron a call, and if Barron likes it, we'll do it. And so I'm like, all right.
Yes.
Picked up the phone. Hey, Barron, Theo Von wants to have your dad on. Your dad wants your opinion. Is he good? He's like, love it. Let's get it done. And, Barron's 18. He's got mad aura. And so we locked it in. We got Theo Von, the president on Theo Von podcast, like 6 or 7 days after that interaction. And we went crazy viral.
Fast.
And Theo Von, educated the president about what it feels like to be on cocaine. You and every American saw that clip. And there's not a dollar amount that you can put on the reach that podcast got the president. And it also showcased the president in a unique light, because he's sympathizing with Theo through his struggles with addiction. He's opening up about his brother's struggle with addiction, which ultimately led to him dying at a young age, and explaining why the president never touched alcohol or drugs in his life. And a lot of people, went into this, a lot of people that were apolitical that Theo's really talked to, his audience really talked to, they only heard about the president through the media, right? Yeah, and so they thought Donald Trump they say he's a dictator, he's a threat to democracy, he's this. And then you have this clip of Theo Von and Trump just being boys talking about, Theo saying, cocaine turns him into a street lamp, and like, what the? So there's clips like that. They're like, wait a second, maybe what the media is saying about the president's personality is not real. And so that was a really fun opportunity that I got to play the critical role in, is kind of being the liaison between all of the podcast bros and the president. And
it's dope. There's an argument that states that was the deciding factor for the election.
Well, I think the deciding factor of the election was the president's personality on those podcasts.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time that he introduced himself to the American electorate that way.
Right.
And it wasn't that the genius of Alex Bruesewitz going through the Spotify list of the top podcasts in the world. I like the post-election press though, because all the post-election press is like this 27-year-old brilliant strategist, Alex Bruesewitz. Like, you literally go to Spotify, you see the top 10 podcasts, and you reach out to the ones that you want to go on. Yeah. And when the president went in, then I gave him no notes. I didn't prep him. I didn't really teach him about the different hosts, and I just explained to him that these guys are really big deals. And the president was like, "All right, let's lock it in."
So am I.
And he crushed every single one.
Yeah.
And we didn't pre-vet questions. We didn't say, "Hey, you can't say this, you can't ask that," and they just vibed, and it was fun. We talked to NFL players, we talked to comedians, we talked to Navy SEALs with Sean Ryan, who's got a great podcast. Lex Friedman. We talked to the biggest guys, and then obviously the biggest one of them all was we did Rogan 8 days before the election. Kamala decided to do a concert with Beyonce instead of going on Rogan. And it wasn't even a concert. Beyonce literally showed up. Everybody in Houston thought it was going to be a concert. Oh, man. And she didn't even perform one song. She just went on stage and she said, go Kamala. And then
quick walk through.
She left. And so that's what she decided to do over the biggest podcast in the world. But even if she went on it, I don't think it would have helped her. But that's kind of the role I got to play. And now post-election, I'm not in the White House. I'm working on the outside, and my company helps run all of the president's outside social media accounts. Like our Team Trump TikTok account that has 12 million followers, we run that, and we have some fun with that account.
Let me ask you this: let's say you were on the opposition side and you're working with Kamala, and you had an opportunity. Do you think that you could have done enough to help her overtake that win?
I don't think so. I mean, she had a lot going against her. I think herself was a flawed candidate. I think she had a inflated belief in herself. I don't know her personally, so I don't want to speak ill of her or attack her character. All I know is her policy positions are insane. I mean, when you have a clip saying that you want to have taxpayers fund the transition surgeries for illegal aliens in our prison system, that's something that you can't really talk your way out of. Yeah. And then let alone she had to own the 4 years of the Biden administration, which by almost every measure were a colossal failure compared to the previous administration. So all we had to ask the voters were you better off 4 years ago or were you better off today? And pandemic aside, a lot of people were like, my money was up during Trump. We were safer during Trump. We didn't have these wars during Trump. Check, 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 check. And so it was almost impossible I think almost impossible for the Democrats to win. And that's why they threw everything at us. That's why they arrested the president 4 times. That's why, the media was working overtime to try to define us. We were up against a lot. We were also not just running against the election system or the election. We were running against judges and court cases. It was insane. But we still won because of how bad the other side was. And I just don't think Kamala has the it factor to become the president of the United States.
Let me ask you this now, with the state of the country now, because we've gone through the 4 years of the Biden administration. A lot of people this year are facing hardships. We heard Trump say, give him a year. Do you see that there is a better day coming soon for a lot of these people that are struggling?
Well, I think the president his number one campaign promise was the border. And he did that really quickly, right? We have 0 border crossings now coming across illegally, which has been great. But economy is something that, is the president's put the timeline of a year. I think the economy is already turning around a little bit. Costs are coming down, but it's still very hard, especially for young people. The economy has not been working for young people for a really long time. And the Democrats, their solution to it is, I will give you free this, I will give you free that. But that's only going to make things worse. But it's a compelling message. You know, the student debt issue, that's something that I'm really passionate about, right? It's an entire generation of children, and not children anymore, but Americans who are burdened by student debt because they graduate high school and they're said, you got to go to college to be successful. And then they go sell them a degree that's typically worthless. And then you're in, you look at the numbers, like only 20% of college graduates are in a career field that uses their degree. So they went to school for something that it doesn't even apply to their job. And so it's been a terrible, broken system. And I understand why a lot of young people are frustrated. And you can't buy houses. You know, their parents were buying houses when they're 25 years old. They're getting married at 25. They're having family at 25. And now the parents are 60 years old. They look at their kids who are still living in the basement. They're like, when I was your age, but like, you know, like when you were able to buy that house for $50,000 on one income, like, and so there's a lot of things that work against, young people now, and they're really frustrated. I understand it, but we got to do, I think the president's policies are in place. Will have long-term success and be helpful to people once they really get implemented. And obviously you have the Congress and the Senate to work through. And I think most of the president's policies are getting through. And then you also have this guy, Jerome Powell, who runs the Fed, who controls interest rates. And the president does not control the Fed. He does not control Jerome Powell. And he's been saying, cut the rates. There'll be a boom. And Jerome Powell's like, nah, I don't want to do it. And so he's out soon. And I think when he's out, you're going to see like the economy really rip. And we'll bring opportunities big time.
When is he out?
Middle of 26.
Yeah, so that's when the people are waiting for. So there's the answer for everybody.
Yes, middle of 26, and I think that will be a catalyst for success. But we have to keep getting our agenda passed. We got to keep implementing. I think the president's tariffs. That's another thing. He says the most beautiful word in the English dictionary is the word tariff, and he says it's more beautiful than love and everything. But the tariffs are important, are an important tool. And I wish that we used tariffs, in the 90s when all of our jobs were leaving overseas, when Bill Clinton put NAFTA and TPP in place and allowed a lot of the factories to be offshored into different countries, to Mexico, to China. And, the tariffs are a tool to protect American workers, protect American jobs, and keep them going offshores. And if you look at a lot of the experts, when President Trump first implemented the tariffs, the experts who are on television were saying, this will raise costs. And now all the experts are saying, well, the tariffs didn't raise costs. And so they are there to even the playing field. All these other countries have tariffs on us. And so it's only fair that we defend American jobs, American workers, by putting tariffs on the other countries as well.
One thing that I know that you've done and been very instrumental with is bridging the gap. Right. And this is something that when I reached out to you with a text, I said, hey, I think it's time that we have a conversation. It'd be really good to bridge the gap because a lot of our fan base is into a lot of urban culture and a lot of those things. Right. And we hear the word thrown around very often, racism. And it's something that early on with Trump, he was very popular, with the hip hop community. He was the most popular person out there. When it came to money, it was, I'm gonna go out and get that Trump money. That was really the narrative, and he was really in good relations with everybody.
Yep.
You've seen him all the time with Don King, Jesse Jackson, Mike Tyson. These are people that he was really good friends with, and still to this day.
Right.
And the hip hop community. And I know that you were instrumental in placing, I'm not sure how instrumental, but the Kodak Black relationship in the hip hop community. Did you have any part in that?
Not with the Kodak Black one. The Kodak Black relationship comes from a lawyer here in Fort Lauderdale, actually, Brad Cohen.
Brad Cohen, yeah.
That guy's a killer. If you guys get in trouble, if anybody watching this podcast gets in trouble in Fort Lauderdale, you call Brad Cohen. That guy will get you out.
I talk to him pretty often.
No, he's a good dude. Evan and I, we went to a game with him last year. We went to the Notre Dame Penn State college football game. Like Brad's a solid guy, and he's plugged in to that community. the hip hop community big time because he represents a lot of these guys. But he was instrumental in that. He was instrumental in the Lil Wayne one. The president, and he not only recognizes that these people are famous and he thinks it will be a PR win, but he thinks that a lot of them are treated unfairly because they're as high profile. A lot of these judges, they go make and the DAs, they make a name for themselves by over prosecuting a lot of the times famous people, and when I explained to the president what was happening to Young Thug in Atlanta in Fulton County, I just said, Young Thug has been in the longest serving pre-trial detention in the history of Georgia. Because Fannie Willis, this prosecutor who was also prosecuting the president at the time, wanted to make a name for herself. And, this woman's nuts. And, she's very corrupt. She was sleeping with some investigator on our team and a whole mess. But she's a bad person. And she was targeting, and she was very vicious towards Young Thug because Young Thug was famous. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it was. And the charges, by the way, like charging somebody and using lyrics as evidence, like that's something that I think we got to take a look at. I think Fat Joe, who's been on your program before, he's been pretty passionate. He's like, that we should not be allowed to do that, because it's art. Maybe they shouldn't rap about murdering people. Maybe that's a good place to start. But I don't think it should be counted as evidence. But Fannie Willis treated Thug very unfairly. I explained the situation to the president, and just like that, the president got it instinctually. He's like, it's messed up. He knows what's happening. And that's why he went on Adin Ross's podcast, and he said, we got to treat him fairly. But the president was very plugged into the rap community for decades. There's like 250 songs that reference, Donald Trump. One of my first interactions with the president on social media, or when I first started really following the president on social media, was when he was beefing with Mac Miller. Because I think he sued Mac Miller over the song Donald Trump, and it was great entertainment on Twitter or on X, right? But he loves the president has great respect for people who are famous because he understands not like overnight famous, but people who have lasting fame. He's got great respect for it because he understands how difficult that is. Donald Trump's been one of the most famous people in the world for 40 years. There's been nothing like him. But, he's got great respect for people who are famous, who are the top of their craft. Mike Tyson, great example of that. Tom Brady, great example. Like the president respects greatness and fame. He's always been really tight with the rap community.
A question I actually had for you listed was about Mac Miller. Do you think that if Mac Miller was alive today, he would be pro-Trump?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like him to.
Yeah.
I would like him to, but he was a good rapper. I mean, I was in high school when he was really blowing up, and rest in peace. It's just sad what happened to him. He really talented artist. That song Donald Trump was a banger. But I don't know. We have a lot of rappers who, that I would talk to, that I have in my phone that are even more famous than the ones that we already discussed, who I never thought in a million years were Trump fans. And some even have songs that are very critical of the president. But then they're texting me. And they're like, dude, hope you guys win this. We've had I've put the president on the phone with some of the biggest rappers in the world.
There's 50 Cent, one of them.
I can't. I'm not going to break any. I'm not going to break any confidence. I wasn't on the 50 wasn't one that I introduced. Yeah. But we had some of the biggest rappers in the world that I put on the phone, 3-way call with the president. And they said, sir, I have questions about this. And the president would just answer it one-on-one with these guys.
That's super cool.
And then after the election, they didn't blow us up. They didn't go and support Kamala when a lot of these rappers were, because we were interacting with these guys one-on-one. And so we had some came out for us, but a lot of these guys that we kept on the sidelines behind the scenes by just having conversations with them.
Yeah, which is like super instrumental at helping it, because it's a lot of the younger community and the urban community had no idea what was going on. But then you see something like Sheff G, And Sleepy Hollow pop up, and that was very huge. What did you play a role in that?
That was a fun one. Who's that came in from another friend of the president. Like the president's plugged in, man. The president's got some dope friends.
I don't doubt it.
We also got Unwell. We got Nicki Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had some of the biggest recording artists in the world that wanted to come. The Sheff G one was awesome though. The Democrats were like, Trump platforms this guy who's facing charges. Like these guys. Like, so is the president. Like you guys totally. It doesn't like these guys are talented guys, and the president didn't shy away from them. He embraced them and he welcomed them. And he thought it was fun. I was in Atlanta with the president, and we had some Falcons players in line, and then we also had this jeweler called Fevzi. Have you ever heard of Fevzi?
No.
He makes all TIs and Gucci Mane's pieces in Atlanta.
He's got some good pieces.
This guy's dope. And, he hit me up. He's like, I have this gift. I want to gift to the president. I'm like, what? He's like, all of my customers, they love Trump. They love Trump. And I'm like, all right, come on to the click line. And he gifts the president like a 45-47 pendant, we couldn't accept the gift because it was there's campaign finance laws, but this guy it's fun how we interacted with all these different people in an organic way. The Democrats, they have a system where they basically go and pay a lot of this talent's management or labels, and then they kind of endorse them in mass. There's this one interaction where I meet a lot of these guys also organically, and again, I'm not going to break confidence, but I was, in Miami for a restaurant opening, and there was a rapper who was at a table next to us, and this was the summer before, so we're still in the primary, and I invited the rapper to come meet the president at a live golf tournament. And he's like, I love Trump. My paper was better under Trump. And I'm like, yeah, come through. And we got interacted. We got connected through that. And then we stayed in touch for a while. I was in touch with his manager, good guys. And they're out of Atlanta as well. And we were coming to Atlanta for a rally. And I was communicating to invite them to the president's rally. The next thing I know, they're on stage with Kamala, endorsing Kamala.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the... And they go, sorry, bro, I got paid. Yeah. And I'm like, it is what it is. Secure the bag, bro. I know times are tough. Do what you got to do. And, I didn't blow him up over it, but, and he's a nice guy, but he had to do what he had to do. But the Democrats paid people. We don't pay people. And we had to, do it in an organic way. And, we had a great asset, which is better than anything, is the president's fame, his celebrity. You get in a clique with Trump, and that picture goes crazy viral every time.
Oh yeah.
And so that's a fun currency that we had to leverage. What does that look like in the post-Trump Republican era? I don't know. The president is like a once in a generation phenom
for sure,
and who understands the culture, who understands pop culture. I don't know if everybody else in the Republican Party does, but the Democrats have the operation where they pay these people, and it has lower effect when they get paid compared to the organic support.
Absolutely.
And so when you get somebody like Meg Thee Stallion, who some people think she's talented, not my cup of tea. But
Team Tory Lane's over this way.
Hey, my girl Ana Paulina Luna, you know her?
No.
She's a congresswoman from Florida. She's been all over Free Tory.
Yeah.
So,
she's been going in.
Yeah, she's been going in, and a lot of people are on that train. My friend Amber Rose, she's on that train. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these people aren't big Meg Thee Stallion.
Amber Rose. Now, Sheff G and Sleepy Hollow recently turned themselves in. They obviously they had that pivotal moment. Is there any chance that we could get Trump on the train to help them get back outside?
Well, I need to look at the charges there. Are they state charges or they?
I believe they're state.
That's tough then. That's because you have crazy radical leftists out there. You have Kathy Hochul, who's a terrible governor, and you have the Attorney General Letitia James, who's a total nut job. And these are ruthless people. They're really vicious people. They like to prosecute up there. So I don't know what the charges are. What was he charged with?
I'm not sure exactly of all the charges that went on with
him. It's tricky. The state charges are tough. That's Tory Lanez is also a state charge. Gavin Newsom could do this tomorrow and pardon Tory Lanez, but he doesn't do it because he's beholden and he's it's a demographic. Tory Lanez seems to be more popular. Like the free Tory Lanez crowd seems to be a little more men, right?
Yeah.
You know, the women who listen to Meg Thee Stallion are on the opposite side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Gavin Newsom is, you know, whipped and controlled by these women. So, you know, he's
absolutely.
So he could do it tomorrow, but he doesn't.
Definitely not a fan of Gavin Newsom. Definitely not a fan of him. Trump or 50 Cent said that he was offered millions to perform Many Men. Is there any truth to that?
I certainly wasn't part of those conversations. I don't know anybody on our team who was part of those conversations. I think that was right around the time the RNC convention was kicking off. The RNC convention, the RNC and the president are and the campaign are separate entities. Maybe they had. I don't think that they had conversations, but you know, I'm not going to call 50 a liar. Yeah. We just weren't involved in those conversations.
How big do you think that would have been because of all the Many Men song just ended up becoming
this
like
was after
yeah.
Well, I'll just say 50 was one, and I think you guys have had his friend on the
Tony Yayo, Uncle Murder, yeah.
And you know, 50 is somebody I'm a big fan of, and he's somebody that I was expecting to kind of get off the sidelines. He says he's with us. You know, even in 2020, he said that if Biden wins, my name's going to be 40 Cent. But you know, he was somebody that I always expected to kind of come out and be with us a little bit more vocally, but. You know, he said a lot of subliminal things that I think helped.
He's smart.
He is. He didn't go all in. But that song, man, that would have been dope. You know. But we walked into that song to the Adin Ross stream. You know, Adin was already streaming. You know, Trump and I, we walked back from, you know, we're a little huddle session. And we walk up to the stream to Many Men, and you know awesome. That clip went viral. And, but yeah, that would have been dope if 50 came out for us.
Hell yeah! Cardi B claims that Trump hates her.
You know, I don't know if the president knows who Cardi B is. You know, but I do know that the president's a big Nicki Minaj fan.
Okay, there you go.
Dividing line.
Viral.
That was good.
And now I did see. Getting into more serious things, at 17 years old, you began your relationship and knowing Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And it started all on Twitter.
Yep.
Ironically, where everything comes together for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a huge moment. He was assassinated. What was and who was Charlie Kirk in your life?
Charlie was very instrumental in helping me get my start in this world. I got connected with Charlie when I was 17 on Twitter, like you mentioned. He was from the suburbs of Chicago. I was in central Illinois or Wisconsin, just a couple of hours away from one another. He was just starting his organization, Turning Point USA. I'm trying to figure out what the hell I want to do with my life. And I just started getting on Twitter. And, you know, he had like 3,000 Twitter followers at the time, and I had like 800. And we would just tweet pro-Trump or pro-conservative things, mainly about Scott Walker and free market capitalism and catchy slogans like that. And I just watched what Charlie would do. And he was a very smart guy even back then. Yeah. And he started gaining followers. I started gaining followers, and it was fun to kind of grow with him. And he obviously really took off with Turning Point USA. I started my consulting business, and he was very helpful in sending me business, connecting me with clients. Some of my clients I still have today are people that Charlie introduced me to many, many years ago, and he was very helpful to me. He was a good person. He platformed me, you know, by sharing my content. He put me on stage at some of his events, and he was a good man. And as we got, you know, a little bit older, you know, we didn't spend as much time together. But I was with him in South Korea just 4 days prior, 4 days before he got assassinated. And, you know, I walked back in the green room. He gave me a big hug. He told me how proud of me he was because I'm getting married in January. And he said getting married was the best thing that ever happened to his life. Wow. And, you know, he married a beautiful woman, former Miss Arizona. And she's a good person, too. And he's like, Alex, you're smart for marrying a pageant girl. You know, the pageant girls, they get our life, bro. They get, and he was a good guy. And it's terrible what happened to him. He was very important to our movement. He was very important to young people in this country. You know, his TikTok game crushed it. and
absolutely.
something that he was able to do, which a lot of people aren't able to do, is take their fame online and translate it to offline. You know, a lot of these people have big followings on social media, but they go into a crowd and nobody has ever seen them before and knows who they are. Like Charlie was so good at taking his online following and bringing him into person. And so people, like, he actually was somebody's face that you'd go and take a selfie with, or go, like, people recognized him. And he'd go to these college campuses. And I watched over the years, like, our trend, like, we started getting more and more conservative, and in large part due to what Charlie Kirk would do. And not necessarily with Turning Point USA, but his presence on TikTok was huge. He'd go to these college football tailgates and he'd throw, like, University of Wisconsin-Madison, for example. He went to frat parties with the Nelk boys. You know, he was throwing hats on, when he was standing on the field at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, he was throwing MAGA hats into the crowd. Like, he really was coming into his own. He went from this guy that I knew to be a little bit dorky and quirky to, like, a guy who started having swagger, and he
had the aura.
And you could tell. And Erica, I think, was a big part of that. When he got married, he's like, you know, how do I have to impress anymore? Like, I have this beautiful wife at home. I got these 2 kids. Sure. And so he started getting some swagger, and that was a real, you know, if you're the Democrats, that's something you really are going to freak out about. But now he's no longer with us because, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, a lot of as soon as he passes, more and more people get to do a little bit of research, or they see clips go viral, and immediately it turns into separation, racism, black, white. He was saying this. Now that is online. I'm sure you see a ton of it.
Yep.
He was racist. He was racist. What do you have to say? What words would you have to combat that?
I don't think that they couldn't be further from the truth. Charlie was really instrumental in helping the Republican Party become more of a big tent. You know, before the president, and the president, I'll say the president 1, Charlie Kirk 2, were really instrumental in helping grow the Republican Party into the movement it is today. We used to be the party of country club conservatives, where you'd go to an event and you want to punch yourself in the face because it's so boring. You know, and Charlie then started incorporating, like, fireworks and flashy lights, and he started getting big artists to come to his events. And there was one clip that I found to be incredible. Was in 2019, Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens went and met with Kanye West in the height of, like, Kanye's, like,
I saw those pictures.
And Charlie comes out of this meeting wearing his suit and coming out in brand new Yeezys that like, there wasn't a racist bone in Charlie Kirk's body. He played basketball in Chicago. He played football there's nothing racist about this guy. And he had opinions that some people didn't like. A lot of people did like them, but there's nothing racist. There was nothing racist about Charlie Kirk. He was very instrumental in platforming some of the most diverse. There'd be no Candace Owens today, who's, by the way, a black woman. Another person that has mixed reviews, but Charlie Kirk was very instrumental in platforming her, and through that, he built this whole movement around her called Blexit, helping talk to black conservatives. And Charlie would show up to these events. Literally, the only white person in a crowd of 600 black people, felt comfortable as ever, could talk to everybody, loved everybody, and but they'll never show those pictures.
Yeah, and it's what it's become. It's Republicans, whites, Democrats, black on social media. Like, that is the way they take it. And it's a lack of understanding for a lot of people, which is why I say it's important to bridge the gap. And obviously, I'm a Latino man, so that the same thing. It's he's a Latino for Trump, and it's just that, right? Yeah. But I've also played a major part of my life inside of the urban community. I grew up in the east side of Buffalo, New York, in the hood. And I've seen a lot of people with the struggles, and I also understand that when I speak to people, it's more of the idea that they have from what they saw on the internet opposed to what they're thinking for themselves.
Yep, that's exactly right. And Twitter's unique is a unique challenge because you really don't hear the tone or the personality of a person when you read their words. You read them the way that you want to read it. And tone and personality is a big part of communication. Yeah. And so, you might hear somebody say something like, I'll say, Nancy Pelosi is a crazy radical leftist, right? I'll say it in that tone. But somebody reads me saying that in all caps, and like Alex is angry, he's yelling all the time. And, it happens to me all the time where I meet somebody, whether it's a reporter, and they're like, Alex, I thought you were this crazy person on social media, but you're like the nicest person I've ever met online. Well, because you can't read my tone when I tweet. But there's a lot of, there's no lack of communication. We're everybody's connected, but nobody's connecting. Everybody, has a platform to communicate, but nobody communicates. It's crazy how social media has really divided the country. And we actually don't really have a lot of people that can go into these different pockets and communicate with them. Charlie was somebody that could really communicate with everybody. Yeah. And he was a real talent that we are definitely going to miss. He's almost impossible to replace.
Absolutely.
But there's certain pockets of the Twitter. I try to communicate with all different people and all different pockets of. I keep up to speed and up to date with everybody online as well. They have a thing called Black Twitter. Are you familiar with Black Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
I love Black Twitter. It's great entertainment, constant entertainment, and I try to, get in the weeds on some of that stuff too. But, it's...
Black Twitter's been going crazy lately between Cardi B and Nicki Minaj.
It's been going crazy for a long time on that. Yeah. And, I'm on team Nicki too, by the way. Like Nicki's she paved the way for everybody in that space. And, there's a lot of...
I'm not gonna lie, in that aspect, I'm Team Cardi.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I just like the way Cardi talks her shit better.
No, she's good. She's good at talking shit. I'll give her that. But like, a lot of these women, they came up because of Nicki, right? Nicki she really gave rise to this genre of music. She paved the way. And, I look at it, there's a lot of disloyalty. Similar to Donald Trump. I'll give Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis another great. That's Nicki Minaj versus Cardi B right there, right? Yeah. So that's how I view it. It's disloyalty. You got to ride with the people that bring you to the dance.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What's been interesting, and you definitely have an effect on this, is how this party has done such a good job of straddling the fence between real influence and influencers. And the only difference is that little R for Republicans. But it's just very cool to see how you've been able to do that. And the only way you can do that is by being in tap with the culture and seeing what's going on social media and seeing what works, what gets the clicks, what gets the views, what are people interested in, who do they want to hear from. Mm-hmm. So it's just very cool.
I think the term influencer has been terrible. Everybody thinks they're an influencer now. You get a few thousand followers, et cetera, et cetera. The micro influencers are actually, in my opinion, more effective than the macro, the big ones, right? Because we did really well with the MAHA, for example, the Make America Healthy Against Space. These aren't the most famous people in the world, but they're influential because they have these pockets of followers where they're a couple 100,000 people that they really are like believe in these people. Yeah. Because they never lead them astray. They say, you can't eat this food, it has this bad ingredient. And so you have these moms and these people who are really health conscious that come out and say, go vote for Trump. Like, those people are substantially more influential when it comes to turning out voters than when, Cardi B stands on stage. Not to keep picking on Cardi.
Now, I'm not sure how much you even want to speak on this, but with Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens has made a lot of claims about what she believes has happened, and that she doesn't believe that that's truly the shooter, that the text messages aren't real. What are your thoughts on these conspiracy theories floating around?
Well, I haven't really paid much attention to those. All I know is that Candace and Charlie were friends. They were close friends, and I've only had personal positive interactions with Candace. I haven't really been paying attention too closely to what she's been saying. Everybody is dealing with this. That was close with him is dealing with this in their own way, and it's crazy what happened to him. I mean, seeing the footage of him. This is somebody that we loved, that we supported. Like, seeing that footage, like, on replay was horrible, man. And I understand why people have questions, and a lot of people still have questions about what happened to President Trump. We still don't know who the hell the guy who shot President Trump was. We know nothing about this guy. We don't know why he had all these different phones. And so you really need levels of transparency to get people to stop asking questions. And we'll see what happens with this. I mean, this guy Tyler Robinson, he seems like somebody that would want to kill Charlie. He was a total nut. He was in love with this person that was a furry. I didn't even know what the hell a furry was until I learned about this guy Tyler Robinson.
Don't look it up.
And these people are freaks. And Charlie was very outspoken about. Like this being anti-sexual degeneracy, and these people are sexual degenerates. These people are freaks, and Charlie was shot right as he started talking about trans. So after talking about trans violence being a major issue in this country for weeks and weeks and weeks after they shot up that Christian school in Minneapolis, they're very dangerous. They're a very dangerous pocket, and so I don't have any questions about if Tyler was the shooter. It totally makes sense to me if, in fact, he was the person that killed him, because he's in love with this trans furry person. But Candace is a good person. I think. I don't know. I haven't talked to Candace personally in a while. I've only had positive interactions when I interacted with her. But it's just crazy what happened, man.
Absolutely, and I also understand that, right? With Candace Owens, it's somebody that what she went through was a lot. Obviously, having such a close relationship with him, it's pretty normal for somebody to go down and spiral, to try to figure out all the answers that she wants to know. It's if somebody close to you were to pass away right now, it's the same thing. There's all sorts of questions, especially if you don't have all the answers. You know what I mean? It's just you're looking for the answers. I know in New York City, Mamdani is set to take over the mayor's seat, and there's a lot of influence with 3 of the donors. So one of the 3 donors gave $250K. That's a Jewish person in the Jewish community. Does that surprise you at all?
Not really. I mean, American Jews are very interesting how they vote here in our country. They're predominantly liberal, which is something that you probably wouldn't expect given the Democrats' position on certain issues and historically how Republicans have been. We did much better with American Jews this last election than we've typically done in the past. But they vote very interestingly here. And, Mamdani, he's a character, man. That guy's an actor, all right? That guy doesn't believe in anything. He's just really good at selling his part. And he's also running against competition that is not very good. He's running against a former governor, Andrew Cuomo, who was ran out of, thank you. He was run out of his job for certain misconduct. He totally mishandled the COVID situation. I like Eric Adams. Eric Adams is a fun character, as well. He's got a good personality. He's a fun guy to watch. I like politics for the entertainment aspect mainly, guys. We have such a awesome cast of characters all across the country. Mamdani's an actor, by the way. He doesn't believe in what he's saying. If he gets in and he actually implements his policies, I think it's going to be an absolute colossal failure and disaster for New York City, which is unfortunate because it is America's greatest city. But he's an actor. He's playing a role. His mom's big in the entertainment industry in Pakistan or India, whatever the country he's from, and he's just playing a role, and he's good at it. He's got good super cuts on TikTok. The Democrats mainly as a party are falling behind big time on social media. Mamdani kind of gets it, but Mamdani is also going to be great for Republicans because he's a nut. He says crazy things. And you just run his clips over and over again, and you raise a lot of money, and you say we're going to run against, we don't need to have another Mamdani. It's going to be great for us, and so the Democrats should probably think that one through, but they don't really think very well.
So basically, he's going to make your job a little bit easier.
Absolutely,
when it comes aboard,
because boogeymen are great in this business, right? Yeah. The Democrats, their boogeyman is Donald Trump. That's their entire messages. I'm anti-Trump. I'm anti-Trump. And it's, it revs up their base. It's kind of exhausts the middle. But, boogeymen are important in this business. AOC, when she first came in the squad, she was great for Republicans because she said crazy things. We want to do the Green New Scam. We want to ban gas driving cars by XYZ year. She said these insane things. And, she fortunately set them in front of a camera so you can easily turn those into television ads.
Yeah.
And then you go out and create the counter to it. And so our counter to the squad was Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's a game like that. It's a sport like that.
Definitely.
Tim Pool said, within the United States, there exist two countries, a multicultural democracy and a constitutional republic. Do you agree?
I think we're one country still. I think that, we're getting further and further divided. Tim Pool's an interesting guy. I've been on his show quite a few times. But I think we're still one country. I think we're actually getting more, united as a people, especially when you turn off your phone. Right, and you can walk to the grocery store again and not get worried about getting punched in the back of the head for wearing a MAGA hat. It is a little bit different. It's a different vibe. 2016 felt really divided. But I think the president, through sheer force and willpower and winning people over the years, has kind of lowered the temperature. You used to go to see these protests that were anti-Trump protests, and they used to be massive, and they used to be young people there. It used to be, and now you go to a protest, and it's all like 75-year-old fat like boomers, and they're so boring, and you almost want the protesters out there because they're really helpful to us, And you have this fat person that was probably married to a man before, and then they became a lesbian after a midlife crisis, and their hair is purple, and they have a "I hate Trump" sign. That person is great for us. I love that person. I want that person everywhere. Please go to your grocery store and stand out. That's a great visual for the Republican Party. But I think we're getting. I mean, there's a lot of these moments though, where you feel like we're kind of divided. I feel like one of the moments was when Charlie was killed, when you had half the people online celebrating it, half the people online obviously mourning it. But when you get offline, and you talk to people in person, they're still like, man, that was what happened was effed up. So I think just learning to close your phone is really important and healthy.
Absolutely. Charleston White, I'm not sure if you're familiar with who he is.
Funny guy.
Yeah, very funny guy.
By the way, he fought the Island Boy, right?
Yeah.
And he won.
You know what I mean? Depends on how much Adin Ross paid the Island Boy. But he has spoken out about Charlie Kirk, saying Charlie Kirk was a racist, he's a bad person.
Charleston said that?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
And he's saying, it's surprising because Charleston White's takes are awfully similar, usually when he's speaking about these situations, right? And he's outspoken. He's somebody that loves to debate people as well. What are your thoughts on him saying something like that?
I don't think he knows Charlie. And I think, I don't know if he watched Charlie's clips, or if he did, he probably watched some clips that were totally taken out of context and not heard fully. If he ever met Charlie in person, I think his opinion on that would change pretty quickly. But that's disappointing. I didn't know that he said that.
Yeah. Now, in going on to more serious things again, in 2028 is the end of Trump. Who do you see as his natural successor?
Donald J. Trump running again. I'm kidding. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
we gave Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader for the Democrats, and Chuck Schumer. They were in the Oval Office a couple of days ago, and the president gifted him Trump 2028 hats, and they did not like that very much. But no, I think we have great talent. I think the vice president, J.D. Vance, is a very talented guy. He's probably the favorite to be the successor there. But we have a great bench. We have talented people. The president has really transformed the Republican Party. He's brought interesting people into our movement. And whether it's elected officials, people who are working for the president, the vice president, businessmen on the outside, we have a bench. The Democrats, on the other hand, I'm concerned for them. Yeah,
because they seem leaderless. So that was my follow up. It's
I like the sport of politics, right? And so I like to study the other team, and I want competition because it makes life fun, makes it entertaining. And I sit here today really disappointed in our opposition. It feels like you're getting ready for a football game, you're the varsity team, and you want to play your school rival, and the school rival's team, is all sick with something, and so they send the JV team. That game's not going to be fun. You're just going to beat up. You're going to score 70 points. And so, I look at it, and I want to see somebody on their side emerge. I really can't see it. Somebody who I think is a talented person that technically has a D on their name is Stephen A. Smith. I think he's a very great speaker. He's compelling. He knows how to mix it up. In this day and age in the media environment, I think he'd be really talented.
Oh yeah.
I think, unfortunately, for the Democrat Party, they are beholden to the crazy the crazy left. They're like, and Stephen A. is a little bit more in the center. And I think Stephen A. on a debate stage would be awesome. It'd be tremendous entertainment. I think the president even called in once to us. Stephen A. was doing a show, and he's like, Stephen A., you'd be great. Why don't you run for office? Like, he'd be good at he'd be good at it.
That would be pretty interesting.
It sure would.
But I've never met Stephen A. He'd be somebody I'd want to meet. Actually, he's a cool guy. But he's got great beefs. He's fights with LeBron James. That's popular. You know, like he's good at it. But on the left, I mean, they want to make Mayor Pete a thing. Mayor Pete Buttigieg, he polls at 0% with black people. Believe it or not. This 0%. Dorky mayor from Indiana, who, you know, is a gay man, polls at 0% with black people. And when black people are a big contingency of the Democrat voter bloc, that guy's never going to be president, period, end of story. But they still try to make him a thing. Another one is Gavin Newsom. You know, they're doing this rehabilitation tour for Gavin Newsom. They're trying to make Gavin seem more moderate. He's a crazy leftist who has destroyed California, who has allowed boys to compete against girls, who's made it a safe haven for illegal aliens in his state, who has the highest taxes in the nation. Like, he's really done terrible things for California, but now they're trying to make him out to be this moderate person. So I don't know. I look at the competition. I'm kind of bored of the competition, and maybe something surprises me. But as of right now, I think I like our chances for 28.
Yeah. So is there any possibility that you see something happening where Trump could make a move to try to get in there?
Man, I mean, it'd be fun for me.
Yeah.
It'd be fun for me. But no, it's going to be, I think politics is going to be a lot different, you know, in the post-Trump era. And I think you're going to appreciate the next three and a half years, because like, you know, we've been living through some awesome times, and it's been what I think one thing that the president doesn't get any credit for is, before he came along, politics seemed like something for a particular class of people.
Absolutely.
It wasn't something that everyday people wanted to talk about. They wanted, like, you know, the businessman or certain people. President Trump made politics for everybody. Yeah. And everybody has an opinion on it now. Everybody's talking about it at dinner tables. And I think that's a good thing for democracy. I think that's a good thing for our country. And that came because of Trump. They say Trump's a threat to democracy. But more people vote in elections, every election, because of Donald Trump. So that's a great thing for democracy, what he did. But I hope people stay engaged post-Trump. I think it's, you know, your civic duty as an American. You're supposed to be engaged in the election process. But I have a feeling a lot of people are going to start,
absolutely,
tuning out again. Which then you know, when people tune out of politics, that's when the swamp really grows.
Yeah. You think any of his kids have a future? Because you talk about Barron being involved. What about anybody else?
The American Caesar memes, you ever see those? Of saying Barron Trump is the American Caesar? Like, now, Barron's a very sharp guy. He's 18 years old, though, and or 19. He's got a bright future, whatever he wants to do. But all the president's children are impressive. You know, we have the luxury, I say this all the time, we have the luxury of our president having smart kids. The predecessor, Joe Biden, didn't have that luxury. But unfortunately, Joe Biden said that the smartest guy that he knew was Hunter Biden. So that explains why his presidency was so bad. You know, but Hunter was a crack guy. He liked to do crack. He painted with his feces. He's a really special character. But like, even you have to find some appreciation for Hunter's role in all of this, because he's so unique. But President Trump has great kids. Don, Eric, Ivanka, Tiffany, Barron, all the kids are great kids, and they all have big futures. In politics, I don't know if any of them are interested, but if they wanted to pursue it, I think there'd be a lot of support for all of them.
Yeah. People debate who the head of the snake is in a deep state. Some say Obama, some say Soros, some say Pelosi. Who would your pick be?
Well, I think the deep state is a broad term. A lot of it's the bureaucracy that is entrenched within the Washington agencies. You know, when the president comes in, each president comes in, they get only a couple thousand political appointees where they get to pick who goes to the different agencies. And then there's the career staff who's layered there underneath. And that's in the FBI, it's in the CIA, it's in the Department of Defense, it's in the Department of Energy, it's in all the different bureaucracies and agencies, these career staffers, and most of which hate the president, hate conservatives, and so they obstruct. And we've done a good job, I think, of navigating around that. This go around, we were totally blocked by a lot of things by the deep state during our first term. But I think that really, if we're talking about like the corrupt actors, and a lot of people perceive as corrupt actors, I think really the financiers, the people who fund the operations, are the ones who are the most dangerous in the country. You look at people like Soros, you look at people like Reid, Hoffman. These are bad people, and they've done bad things, and they support crazy things. You look at J.B. Pritzker, the fat governor of Illinois. He's a really fat guy. You know, he always talks about running for office. That guy could never run. I mean, he may waddle, but he's never going to run for president. I'll tell you that much. But J.B. Pritzker, he has this cousin who looks like him, identical, but put on a wig and says he's a woman now. But this guy,
He's so good.
he funds, he's the biggest financier of gender transition surgeries for minors, for kids.
Wow.
Minors.
And it's sick. The people who fund these endeavors, who fund these candidates, they're the ones who I think are the biggest dangers to our country. And a lot of this stuff we shouldn't be allowed. We should not be allowed to pay to transition children. And people that do that, I think, are really sick.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a doctor and you're diagnosing America. What would you say is our biggest problem?
Trump derangement syndrome. I think that's broken a lot of people's brains. A lot of healthy, sane people you see that do understand. No, I think the woke virus has been really bad for the country, and normalizing a lot of this sick crap has really divided our country. And you know, it's an easy one to talk about because it's boys and girls sports. That should be a black and white issue, right? But it's not. Like, it's people are so like, oh, it's you know, if they think they're a woman, they should be able to compete. But like, it's totally common sense. Say no boys and girls sports, but half the country can't say that because they feel like it's not politically correct because they're woke now. And so a lot of these things, like, you know, you know, you have this situation in North Carolina. DeCarlos Brown Jr. This guy was arrested 14 times for serious crimes, like, you know, gun violence and for, you know, weapons and domestic violence. He's a bad dude. But the policies that were put in place in North Carolina by these woke people, they want to take it easier on criminals, and so they want to give them second chances and third chances and fourth chances and 15 chances. And DeCarlos Brown Jr., what does he do? He gets out of jail and he slits the throat of this beautiful young Ukrainian girl on a subway. And that guy should never have been out on the streets like he was.
Yeah.
But woke policies, and so I think woke is probably the biggest issue that we face as a country.
Wild video, by the way.
It's a terrible video.
I saw that entire video.
I mean, that was probably like the most traumatic week of videos I saw in my life. So you see that video that came out on like a Friday or a Saturday, and then Charlie's killed on a Wednesday. And you see both those videos. I mean, what that does to and those were seen widely. Millions and millions and millions of people saw that. And those aren't pleasant things to see. And those aren't movies. Those are real life situations too. Like, that could have been anybody's daughter on that train. And I think a lot of people that might have not been political before, they see that and they're like, this is not right. That's not right what's happening. And I think the Democrat governor of North Carolina is going to walk back some of those policies now.
Do you think that there is problems that America faces that the Constitution just doesn't have a remedy for?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that we're a strong people. We're a strong country. I think we need to find our way back to God. I think that's a big thing. I don't think the Constitution is necessarily the fix. I think that it's a far bigger than politics. I think it's far big. I think we need to find our way back to God, and not just in this country, all over the world. We've really strayed from Christian values and being believers, and a little bit more focused here on what's here on earth. And one of my favorite quotes is from C.S. Lewis. He wrote in his book Mere Christianity. He said, if you focus on heaven, you'll get earth along with it, and if you focus on earth, you'll get neither. And we have a lot of people who are focused on earth right now, and it's just their priorities are not straight. And you see the cultural decay, you see the countries decaying, and again, it's not just our country. It's in Europe, it's in Asia. It's one of the biggest problems in the world is people are not having families. They're not having children. You have the population decrease like crazy.
Nuclear family.
Look at South Korea is a great example of this. You have by 2050, South Korea is going to have half of its population as it has today because they're not having families. They're prioritizing work. And that's not a recipe for success, and it's happening all over the world except for, the Middle Eastern nations. I think Israel actually has the highest birth rate as a country, and then their neighbors in the Middle East also have very high birth rates. But most of the Western world has very low birth rates, and I think that's a major problem. And I think it stems from a lot of people now focused on careers, and they're focused on earth instead of what's important, like starting families.
Now, you're a very interesting character, right? And we don't get to hear of people like yourself that often. Is there maybe a book, a show, or a movie that highlights what you do?
I don't know. I wrote a book a few years ago called Winning the Social Media War. I wrote a book when I probably shouldn't have written a book. I didn't have anything to write a book about 5 years ago, but I did. I had some lessons in there. I felt like I was cool because I was a published author, right?
Yeah.
And gave it out at events or something. And,
titles, man. Titles.
Bullied my friends into buying some copies for me. But I was very serious. I'm an author now. Charlie Kirk wrote my foreword to that. But
nice.
No, I've actually been mainly kind of private behind the scenes besides social media. So I haven't really, no movies, certainly no movies about me. I'm starting to do more of these podcasts, which I'm grateful for the opportunity to come on with you guys.
Absolutely.
But I think it's going to be a fun next chapter because I'm becoming a little bit more public and outspoken.
Who are the voices in political commentary that you actually listen to, and who do you avoid?
Well, I know all of the people in political commentary, and so I have great respect for a lot of them. Tucker Carlson has a mixed rap. Tucker's been really helpful to my life. When I got subpoenaed by the Congressional Committee and by the January 6th Committee a few years ago as a 23-year-old, and I had to pay $100,000+ to defend myself over crap, in front of this Congressional Committee. That was a total clown show. It was great entertainment for me, though. So I always look on the entertainment end of things. But Tucker Carlson platformed me. He gave me voice, and he helped me grow exponentially. Tucker's a good man, and he's somebody that I do like in commentary. You like Megyn Kelly. I think Megyn Kelly's got a great voice. But I think we have talented people on our side. On the other side, again, like I don't know if I consider Stephen A. Smith on the other side. I think he's more with us, but he has a D in front of his name. I like Stephen A. Smith a lot for, just general commentary. I think he is a smart guy.
Yeah.
Instinctually.
And it's interesting to see him, jump in and dive into politics more now.
Yeah, and I think I think he does it in a thoughtful manner. Sometimes, he says something, I'm like, dude, like, how don't you get all these other things, but you don't get this? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
But like, I think he's a thoughtful guy. He's a good thinker, and he's been a fun addition to political discourse over the last couple of years. Who I don't listen to are people on CNN. Keith Olbermann, I think he's an idiot. Who else do I think are stupid people? Abby Phillip, I think on CNN she's terrible. But I think most of the people on our side, Jack Posobiec, he's a friend of mine. He's got a big following. Andrew Schulz, I think he's another one. He's an interesting voice. He's been a little hard on us lately, and But I think I like Andrew. He's a good guy. Tim Dillon. I don't know if you follow Tim Dillon at all.
Yeah. All those guys.
Yeah, like that whole crowd. I've gotten to know over the last couple of years, and they're cool. They're cool dudes. And I mean, I don't agree with these guys on everything, but I don't blow them up over it. I don't hit them up and say, hey, like you can't say that. What the like. They're good. They're free to have your own opinion, and you can have your own opinion. I don't have to agree with everything that you say, and I can still be cool with you.
Be friends,
the other side doesn't operate that way. If you have any sort of differing opinion, like you're totally boxed out, and I don't want that to creep into conservative politics. Like my opinion on something is different than somebody else's. Like the Democrats, if you differ in any way, shape, or form, you're boxed out. That's why they don't welcome people like Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, I keep harping on him, he should be embraced with open arms by the left. But they block him out because he doesn't tote the line. And I think it's foolish of them.
Censorship, something that you've spoken about before. We recently saw a big moment with Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off air for the things that he said. Did you agree with that?
Yeah. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel.
And what do you feel about him having his opportunity to come right back because they pretty much suspended him for a week?
They acted like Jimmy Kimmel died. Like there was this whole they acted like he got killed. Charlie Kirk was the one that got killed, but people were making harsher statements about Jimmy Kimmel being suspended for a couple of days than Charlie getting assassinated, which I found to be pretty messed up. And I also found it to be quite ironic that the people who were screaming about censorship were the ones who were censoring us for the last 5 years for questioning if a vaccine worked or not.
Absolutely.
And so they had no moral high ground to stand on. But Jimmy. He has terrible ratings. You guys get substantially more ratings than Jimmy does. Jimmy literally gets maybe 1 million viewers a night. And he's got a primetime show on ABC that's on basically everybody's home. Everybody with a television has ABC. And only 1 million people tune in to hear that guy. And, he's boring. Late night comedy sucks now because people like, you can watch comedy during the day. You can pick up your phone and watch Theo Vaughn whenever you want. You can watch Tony Hinchcliffe whenever you want. And, that's another one. All of the people, including guys like Jimmy Kimmel, when Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke about Puerto Rico, everybody said, Tony Hinchcliffe needs to be canceled. He's a roast comedian who literally, if you listen to his speech, you're Dominican. He probably offended
I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican.
Yeah, sorry, bro.
And I wasn't. I wasn't offended at all.
Yeah,
I understand comedy though. If somebody's making a joke.
The whole world tried to cancel Tony Hinchcliffe, and then everybody that tried to cancel him all said, "Oh, what's happening to Jimmy Kimmel is wrong." So it's like hypocrisy, and I think that people saw through it. But I think Jimmy should be canceled for other reasons. I think he should be canceled because his show sucks, and it'd be nice to see somebody with actual talent and who could get ratings take over that seat. But it's already been a week or so since that fiasco, and by this time next week, Jimmy Kimmel will be irrelevant once again.
Yeah. And he also used the platform that when he came back on to attack Trump once again.
Yeah, but his audience, the people that do have who do decide to tune in, they already don't like us. So it's not really moving the needle any. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't move the needle at all. Like, you tune into Jimmy Kimmel if you already have severe Trump derangement syndrome and you want to get further indoctrination. Yeah. You don't go as an open-minded person to listen to his guests. If you do, you'll just watch the clips of whatever guest he has on X the next day.
Yeah, I feel like most of the viewers are a rollover from the show that they were previously watching.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's late-night sports or whatever, and it's just passive viewers. And he really doesn't get good ratings. And but they acted like he was killed. But he was taken off air for a couple of days. And, he was reprimanded and suspended by his employer because he lied about what happened to Charlie. It wasn't because it was somebody he didn't like. He just straight up lied during a really turbulent time in our country. And he put his employer, ABC, in a bad spot. And it's not free speech for his employer. It's not anti-free speech for his employer to suspend him, and Jimmy Kimmel has the freedom to say whatever the hell he wants, whenever he wants it. But he doesn't necessarily have the right to say it on ABC and put ABC in a bad spot where they're going to lose out on money, on ratings, and whatnot. And so, but we're over it, and Jimmy will again go back to being irrelevant.
And I'm almost done, I promise. I know I'm throwing a lot of questions at you.
No, we're having fun.
I'm learning so much myself here. Now, have you ever dealt with anything like that? You know, deplatforming or being shadow banned, anything?
You know, Charlie was actually a good advisor to me on this. Charlie tried to get as close to the line as he possibly could without getting censored and suspended, because he recognized that if he could have his voice heard on 99.9% of the opinions, it's worth it to not really go into that 0.1% category that you knew would automatically get axed, because you couldn't completely lose your voice. I've actually never been totally deplatformed. I've been demonetized. You know, we used to do a lot of Facebook revenue. Facebook used to allow you to make money off of your videos. And then in 2020, Facebook demonetized like every conservative page. And so we lost out on, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars that year because of it.
Trump wants some of that money back.
You know, Trump's getting a lot of that money, and it's helping us build the library, which is going to be downtown Miami, by the way. It's going to be sick.
Wow.
And it's going to be right next to the Freedom Tower in downtown Miami. It's an awesome location. And I never was suspended or censored of that, like a lot of my friends were, but a lot of these people literally lost their accounts. I mean, the president was taken off of X, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Stripe, like Stripe,
and still came in there and won that presidency.
Yeah, and it was crazy. We weren't even allowed back on Facebook and Instagram until right up until the general election started. For almost 3.5 years, he was banned, and so he had to create True Social, which, you know, was mocked by the left, but it was a great platform for us because it got the president's message back out there. But you know, for like a year, he was communicating through standard press releases, where, you know, he would type something up on an email, and then he would use accounts like mine on X to get his message out. And so his voice was still there, but it was out through all of his allies on social media instead of him directly. But when he was able to get back on social media, he was able to crush it. And obviously our TikTok, when the president got on TikTok, man, we did crazy numbers. His first video he did when he walked out with Dana White, it had 350 million views. And, you know, the Democrats just couldn't compete with that. And, you know, they did this thing where Kamala Harris met up with NSYNC. And NSYNC, bro, NSYNC.
Shout out to NSYNC.
And they tried to do the thing with Charlie XCX, whatever her name is, the Brat Summer. They were so cringe, or with the president had natural, you know, gifts on TikTok, and they just couldn't compete with us on there. So it was a crazy time though, being censored, everybody being censored and removed. But I was never removed off anything.
Elon Musk, when we speak about Twitter, X. What's your relationship like with him? You know, we recently saw that he was at the funeral with Trump, and then also their relationship. Do you know if their relationship has improved?
Yeah, I'll let the president's public comments speak for themselves. I've met Elon a couple of times. He's been very kind to me in both interactions, and you know, I didn't really work with him at all in the campaign, but he was very integral in the president's transition process, you know, and early stages of the presidency, and he played a very important role in saving our country. I think his acquisition of X was really important to restoring free speech, restoring a lot of the voices that were previously removed, and he kind of evened the playing field on social media. And when a lot of more people started flocking to X instead of Facebook or Instagram, it also forced Mark Zuckerberg to, you know, stop censoring as well for competition. And so he played a really important role in that election, and I think in really the future of our country. And so I'm grateful for that. And you know, it was obviously a little rocky moments at times. I think he's a good person. I got to know some of his family members pretty well. Really great family, and you know, I'm grateful for his contributions to our election win. And you know, there's some projects that I'm not a big fan of that he works on, but you know, he's a really fascinating character, and he's a really important person in our country.
Are you a fan of Tesla?
I'm not an electric car guy, only because electric cars were forced on us, and I'm very defiant. So when they said, you know, I love climate change. so everybody says, "Oh, climate change is a disaster." I love climate change. I'm a big climate change guy. I want Americans to have more access to oceanfront property in the future. Like they say, they show these maps where like Nebraska sinks in and it's the ocean. Like I would love for people in Nebraska to be able to buy an oceanfront. I'm kidding, but like the people forced the green cars on you. They say you have to buy green, and because they forced it, I'm like, I love gas guzzling cars. I want as much gas guzzling cars as I possibly can get.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
But it's a great stock. I mean, the Democrats tried to tank that stock, right? They're like, and they're like, Tim Walz, for example, and it's funny because Tim Walz in the state of Minnesota, they have this pension that invests on behalf of their state employees. And they owned some of Tesla. They owned quite a bit of Tesla. And Tim Walz was out on campaign rallies telling people to dump the stock. Meanwhile, he's tanking their stock while they invest in it. And so, like, we found out that the pension had Tesla shares and started going viral. Everybody was calling Tim Walz an idiot, but he's used to that. But now they said, oh, you guys sell your Tesla shares, and then get down to like $219, and it started ripping again. It's like mid 300s. So he's obviously very smart with what he's doing. I'm just not an electric car guy.
Now you are a phenomenal speaker, right? We all hear that right now, right? Sitting in the room with you. You had a moment on stage, you're speaking.
Crazy.
You lose your words. I remember watching this video as it happened. You lose your words and you faint. What exactly went on?
That was nuts. That was one of the crazier moments of my life, but I was severely dehydrated. And I stood on the stage and the lights were hot as hell.
People don't understand. If you've never been on stage, it's a lot.
And I've been on stages many times, and I've never had that experience. But these lights, man, they were hot as hell. And I also gained quite a bit of weight on the campaign trail. And so I was doing this thing where I was like, not eating food. And I also just happened to not drink water. And it was like the final week of the fantasy football season, too, that week. And so I was like wired. I had no food, so I had little energy. So I started drinking a lot of coffee. I'm watching my fantasy football team lose, having a terrible time, drinking coffee. And so I had like 12 cups of coffee that day, limited water, no food, had to wear a bow tie, stood on stage, got about 2.5 minutes in. Next thing I know, I'm on the floor. And it's crazy because, I invited my now fiance. It was my first time inviting her to hear me speak.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm going to flex on her. I'm getting this award at this nice gala in New York. She's from LA. I fly her out to New York City. We have a nice New York weekend. Right. Take her through the carriage, the carriage ride. Like I'm doing, the whole thing,
all the
right? And, she's wearing this beautiful gold ball gown. She looks great. And she's like, Alex, you got to eat something today. I'm like, no, I do it. I want to look skinny for my speech. She's like, you should probably eat something. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. And next thing I know, I'm falling off stage. I'm in the back of an ambulance with this girl in a gold ball gown. I'm like, what the hell? But yeah, that was crazy, man. And yeah, it was wild. So if you get
pointing at you, he's a vaxxer.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of that. I had a lot of people, the internet talks. It was fun. I was trending for a while that day. Yeah. It was interesting. But the president, I didn't know this until after I got out of the hospital. The president called in on stage as he must have been watching the speech or something, because he called in like moments after I fell off stage. He's like, Alex is a special guy. He's a tough guy. He's gonna be okay. But like, he called me the next day too to check on me, and he's like, Alex, you good? He's like, you gotta hydrate, you gotta do this. And so he's like, but come down to, when you get back to Florida, come to Mar-a-Lago, we'll take care of you. And he's a good guy. But that was a crazy moment. And if anybody is watching this that does public speaking, like, make sure you hydrate before, and
you listen to your fiance, or your wife.
Yeah, listen to your girl, man. They know. Yeah. They know.
She definitely passed the test on that one.
Yeah, she did. Honestly, that's when I knew I was going to marry the girl, because I look over. I'm in this hospital bed, still in my tuxedo, because I refused to wear the ball gown, right? Because I was thinking there's something seriously wrong with me. I'm like thinking that maybe I have a heart issue, and fortunately all my tests came back all good, but I didn't want to look like I was sick, right? In my head I'm thinking there's something wrong, but at least I don't want to look like I'm sick. So I'm not putting the hospital gown on.
I'm a G, I got this.
So I'm sitting there with my tuxedo in this hospital bed for literally 24 hours. And waiting for all my tests to come back to get discharged, and there's this girl literally still sitting in her high heels and her ball gown for 24 hours, just sitting there. I'm like, all right, that's it, locking that one down.
I just want to get married.
Hey, good singer.
Yeah, thank you. So, with you, with music, I wanted to get to this real quick. In the hip hop community, who is your favorite artist right now?
Right now, man, I've always been a big fan of The Game. I grew up in the streets of Ripon, Wisconsin. It's a town of 7,000 people, very predominantly white, great community. But for some reason, I became a big fan of The Game. LAX Files is an absolute banger. I really haven't been listening to. I'm not a massive fan of the new gen hip hop. I also also don't like a lot of the characters, and the characters are very different. I mean, look at guys like Lil Nas X, right? Do you even consider him a rapper? But the guys who are famous now are really not that impressive to me. I'm like The Game, 50. Rick Ross. I liked Rick Ross's music. I actually met Rick Ross at Carbone in Miami a few months ago. He's a cool dude, nice guy. Who else do I like?
Jay-Z.
Not a big Jay-Z guy. I used to like Lil
On the
Wayne.
other side, he's on the other side.
I used to like Lil Wayne. I still like him, but his older stuff.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Carter. That's dope.
Yeah, time has passed.
Yeah, right above it is my ringtone. Like that song. That song came out when I was in like 6th or 7th grade. But like that song was dope when we were in school. Like Drake's obviously, great. My guy Evan here loves Drake, big Drake guy. So I have a wide genre in the hip hop world, but like I'm really not very impressed with the new gen guys.
I'm definitely not impressed with the new gen either. There's the artists that I know that aren't as popular as the others, but most of this new gen isn't too interesting. Now, where I want to leave this off with is you. And can we see you make a run in politics?
Oh, man, we'll see. I have a lot of fun doing what I do now.
You have all the tools.
I feel like I also feel like I almost have more influence doing something what I do right now than I would being one voice or one vote in Congress. And the Senate, man, is like, I'm not even old enough to run for Senate. And it's slow. It's a very slow process. And so guys like Charlie Kirk was very, he could have been it too, right? He could have gone for Congress. He could have gone for Senate. He could have done any of these things. But he had more influence building on the outside. And perhaps one day for something that's a little bit more big league. But I don't think I would do, Congress or Senate. But I'm still definitely going to be involved. There's a lot of things I want to do in the outside world. I want to get involved in more business endeavors that I've been focused on this year. Certainly going to be very active in politics, at least through the president's term. But I've been doing this since I was 19 years old, and it's been fun. So many doors have opened, so many blessings have come into my life because of it. I'm very interested in other aspects of my life now too. So I'm very focused on starting a family, spending more time with my family, my friends, and trying to lower the temperature a little bit and lower the stress a little bit.
Yeah,
politics
absolutely.
is an interesting sport.
What about this fight over at the White House with Conor McGregor?
You think he's going to do it?
I don't know. I'm asking you. I think you have more insight than I do.
Conor is awesome, man.
Yeah.
Conor, he's a controversial figure, but he's somebody that I've gotten to become friends with, and he's a good dude.
That's
and
awesome.
He's that guy's got the biggest fists I've ever seen in my life. And, I don't know if it's from punching people so hard over the years and they just get inflamed, but this guy's fists are bigger than my head. and so he's not somebody I would want to fight, but there's, that'd be an awesome fight. John Jones would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I know, whatever I know, Dana White's going to put on a spectacle.
Absolutely.
The renderings looked incredible. But you guys follow fighting pretty closely, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's we had Dustin Poirier up here.
I was at the fight, his Conor fight, and I lost money on that one. I didn't really follow UFC closely at the time, and I was at a buddy's bachelor party, and that fight is actually the resurrection of Trump. A lot of people don't know that, but Poirier McGregor it was July of 21, and a lot of people totally wrote off Trump. He was in exile after January 6th. He wasn't really making political appearances. And out of nowhere, Trump walks into the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Crowd goes nuts. He walks right past Megan Fox and Justin Bieber and Machine Gun Kelly, and he just totally flexes on everybody.
Classic clip.
And then it's like, boom, Trump is back, and then we never lost the energy since then. So Dana was very impactful in that. But that was that fight, Poirier McGregor. I lost $1,000 because I bet on McGregor. I think he broke his leg in 7 seconds. It was it was a tough fight.
I hate that image. Yeah.
But man, McGregor he's a fun guy to watch, and
he's even sitting down with the microphone. Yeah, if I didn't break my leg, I'd kick your ass. I was just like, oh, this dude is a man.
Yeah, no, he's one of a kind. I totally forgot that he and one of the Paul brothers had beef. And at the inauguration, I thought it would be a good idea to take some special guests to see the inauguration.
I've seen this, yeah.
And so I put together this crazy crew. I had Danica Patrick, I had Theo Vaughn, I had the youngest billionaire in America named Alexander Wang, I had Evander Holyfield, I had Jake and Logan Paul, and I had Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And I totally forgot that he was beefing with one of the Paul brothers, I think Logan. And I forgot to relay to the Paul brothers that McGregor was coming. And so they were totally taken off guard when McGregor shows up, and he's like, McGregor's always ready to go. So he gets all jacked and he's ready, like gets in their face. He's like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? And it was awesome,
Who
man.
the fuck told you?
That was a good Irish accent.
Yeah, mine is terrible.
And I had to break it up a little bit, and so that was fun. But no, McGregor's awesome, man. And who's your favorite fighter now?
My favorite fighter right now is not doing too well. Israel Adesanya, but I love
He's sick.
who's what's this guy's name that just won Pereira. I love Pereira. I didn't even like Pereira because of the fighting with Adesanya, but the way he took over, and then you got Pimblett, who's awesome at everything. But John Bones Jones is the GOAT.
Yeah, John's great, man. Yeah. He's a cool dude, and there's a great picture of him gifting his belt to the president that hangs in the Oval Office or outside the Oval Office. So
I love his win when he did the.
Yeah, I mean that guy. I don't know. That guy might be if you said who don't you want to fight?
Yeah,
I think John's the top of the list.
Yeah, he's definitely
him. and Francis Ngannou is no.
Yeah, Francis Ngannou.
Do you think he could last? How long do you think he could last in the ring with him?
Like, how fast can I run?
No, you think it's one hit, you're done?
He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Really? You're a black belt, so that's what I'm asking you.
So I would try to negate him a few ways, but there's only a amount of time until he gets you. That's a big dude.
Yeah.
I'm not holding him down. Okay?
Yeah, I'm waving the white flag. I'm saying, hey, Evan, you want to come fight this guy for me?
I'll whip his ass the hell out of here. But lastly, what about Kanye? What do you think would happen if Kanye got into politics?
He was. I totally forgot. He was Kanye West, old Kanye West, my favorite artist of all time.
Okay, there you
go. My favorite artist. Good Morning. I like waking up in high school. I was thinking I was like Kanye West of that era. That guy was so dope, and he made such great music. And I went to one of his Sunday services. I was telling him earlier. I went to his Sunday service in 2020 on Super Bowl Sunday. He did one in Miami, and that was sick. You had Fat Joe out there, you had Akon out there, and I was actually doing pro bono work. I was running the social media account for free for this woman, Alice Marie Johnson, who was in prison, and Kim Kardashian and Kanye advocated for her to be pardoned. And she's a really sweet lady, and she's our pardon czar now. She helps people who are wrongly treated get out now. And but those Sunday services, man, were awesome. When he did Jesus Walks, the whole place went nuts. And he's such a gifted artist. I don't know Kanye. That's one person that I over the years, I wish I met Kanye a couple of years ago, but I didn't get the opportunity to meet him personally. He's certainly artistic, and he has
it's a good way to put it.
He has some opinions now that are not popular with a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's an incredible artist, and he was certainly one of my favorite artists growing up.
Yeah. He's definitely has a larger than life personality. Well, I'll tell you this, I'm really grateful that you stopped by here. I would love to do some more shows with you in the future. I've learned a lot.
Thanks.
I'm still expecting that Trump episode.
Let's make it happen. And I challenge you, find somebody on the Democrat side that can do this too. You're not going to find them. The political Democrat class, they're really boring, not fun people.
Yeah.
And but
I'm not sure.
I challenge you. I challenge you.
I'll accept the challenge. All right, Orlando, sign us off.